Imagine being judged not by your heart or your actions, but by the clothes you wear. Imagine walking into a place where no one knows your story, and every glance tells you that you don't belong. This is the story of Thomas, a man who once had everything: success, respect, and wealth. But one day, he chose to walk among those who had nothing, to understand what truly mattered. He worked silently, endured insults, and faced humiliation from people who didn't even know who he was. They saw only a poor man, not realizing they were speaking to the very millionaire who once built the company they worked for. And when the truth finally came out, the world around them changed forever. This story isn't just about money. It's about dignity, humanity, and the power of humility. If this story touches your heart, don't just scroll away. Subscribe, share, and comment below with your thoughts, because somewhere out there, someone might need this reminder today that true richness has nothing to do with the size of your wallet, but with the kindness inside your soul. Let's make sure stories like this reach everyone who still believes that compassion can change the world. The New Worker. It was a chilly morning when Thomas arrived at the construction site, wearing worn-out clothes and carrying a small lunchbox. His shoes were dusty, his hands rough, and his face carried a calm expression. The men working there didn't know that behind those tired eyes was a man who once owned half of the city's real estate. He looked like any other worker, quiet, polite, and ready to help. But his purpose was not to earn money. Thomas wanted to learn something the world had taken from him: respect for people, not for their wealth. The foreman, Mr. Harris, looked at him with a smirk. "You sure you can handle this, old man?" he said, laughing as a few other workers joined in. Thomas nodded gently. "I'll do my best, sir." Throughout the day, Thomas carried heavy bricks, cleaned debris, and fetched water for others. He didn't complain. But some of the workers mocked him for being slow or too quiet. "Hey, Grandpa, you missed a spot," one shouted. Thomas simply smiled and continued his work. At lunch, while others sat together eating, Thomas found a quiet corner under a half-built wall. He opened his small lunchbox, 2 slices of bread and an apple. One young man, Ben, noticed him and felt sorry. "You can sit with us if you want," Ben said kindly. Thomas smiled. "Thank you, son, but I'm fine here." Ben shrugged and returned to his group, but he couldn't stop thinking about the old man. Something about him felt different. There was a peace in his eyes that no rich man Ben had ever seen carried. Days passed. Thomas arrived early, worked hard, and left late. He never argued, never demanded anything. But his humble nature made the boss, Mr. Harris, even more arrogant. One afternoon, Harris shouted in front of everyone, "You think you're some kind of saint, huh? Just because you don't talk doesn't mean you're better than the rest of us." Thomas lowered his head. "I don't think I'm better than anyone, sir." The silence that followed made even the mocking workers uncomfortable. Thomas wasn't angry. He was calm, even after being insulted publicly. That calmness unsettled Harris. Later that evening, while everyone was packing up, Thomas saw Ben struggling with a heavy beam. Without hesitation, he ran to help. "Careful, son, it's about to slip," he warned. Together they managed to balance it before it crashed down. Ben smiled. "Thanks, old man. You're stronger than you look." Thomas chuckled softly. "Strength doesn't come from muscles, my boy. It comes from patience." The young man laughed, but deep inside, those words stayed with him. He didn't know that this humble worker once owned the construction company they were working for, a company he had lost years ago because he trusted the wrong people, including Mr. Harris, who was once his employee. Every night, Thomas went home to a small rented room. There were no luxuries, no servants, no memories of wealth, only peace. He looked at an old photograph of his late wife and whispered, "I'm learning again, Mary, learning what truly matters." But destiny had its plans. The company was soon to receive a surprise inspection from the new investors. And that was when the truth about Thomas would come out, shocking everyone, especially the boss who treated him like dirt. The truth revealed. The following week, the construction site buzzed with tension. Word spread that a group of major investors was coming to inspect the site. Mr. Harris barked orders left and right, trying to make everything look perfect. "Everyone, clean up. And you, old man, stay out of sight. I don't want you embarrassing us," he yelled at Thomas. Thomas nodded quietly and stepped aside, but Ben frowned. "That's not fair," he whispered. Harris glared. "Do you want to lose your job too?" Ben stayed silent. By noon, a convoy of black cars pulled up. Men in suits stepped out, followed by a woman in her 50s. Sharp eyes, confident posture. Harris rushed to greet them with fake politeness. "Welcome, Mr. Raymond, Miss Claire. Please, let me show you around." The investors looked unimpressed. They had seen countless projects like this before. But then, as they walked past the workers, Miss Claire stopped suddenly. Her eyes widened when she saw Thomas wiping the floor. "Thomas?" she said, shocked. Everyone froze. Harris turned pale. You know him?" he stammered. Miss Claire smiled gently. "Know him? He's the man who built the foundation of this company 20 years ago." The workers looked at each other in disbelief. "What?" Ben whispered. Harris's hands started trembling. "That can't be true. He's just a man who taught you everything you know," Thomas interrupted softly, standing up. The air was heavy with silence. Harris's face turned red with shame. Miss Claire stepped forward. When Thomas sold his shares, it was under the promise that this company would treat its workers with dignity. "I see that promise was broken." Harris began to stutter. I didn't know. Thomas looked around at the workers, his eyes kind but firm. "It's not too late to learn, Mr. Harris. Wealth is not measured by how much we own, but how we treat those who have less." Ben couldn't hold back a smile. The workers slowly started clapping, one by one, until the entire site echoed with applause. Harris lowered his head, speechless. Miss Claire turned to Thomas. "The board has been wanting to bring you back, Thomas. We need leaders like you again." Thomas smiled faintly. "I don't need a title, Claire. I just wanted to see if humanity still lives in these walls." Later that day, as the investors left, Harris approached Thomas hesitantly. "Sir, I'm sorry for everything. I didn't know who you were." Thomas looked at him kindly. "You shouldn't respect people because of who they are. Respect them because of who you are." That night, Ben found Thomas sitting near the site, looking at the sunset. "So, you really were the owner?" Ben asked softly. Thomas chuckled. "Once, but I lost it all: money, friends, pride. And in losing, I found something greater." "What's that?" Ben asked. "Peace," Thomas said simply. "And now, I know, the richest man is not the one who has the most, but the one who needs the least." The wind blew gently as the sun disappeared behind the horizon. The site, once filled with noise and pride, now felt different, lighter, honest. And somewhere, deep inside, every worker went home that day, not richer in money, but richer in spirit.